This is coming right out of Jazz Times. As Art Lang persuasively argued in the liner notes to Dr. Cyclops' Dream on Soul Note, the second Herbie Nicholas Project album, there is a prevalent and pervasive misunderstanding in jazz along the lines that the quality of the music is to be measured primarily through the improvised solo, pointing out how the best jazz is a tension between composition and improvisation. He goes on to say, bassist Ben Allison, whose leadership role of the Nicholas Project has earned him considerable kudos, is well aware of this, having formed the Jazz Composers Collective 10 years ago. Indeed, all 9 of the new tracks on Peace Pipe are all his, with the exception of 2, and we'll get into that later. With that said, let's get into Ben Allison and the album Peace Pipe. Hey guys, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, hey, welcome back. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's quite a long haul since we've been together like this.
Yeah. For those of you who don't understand, we have not recorded for 2 weeks. We did 3 episodes back to back to back so we could do the top 10 lists, which we won't see the last one drop until tomorrow morning. So for us, it's been a couple of weeks to chime in together. The reason being is that I spent all last week at the Texas Jazz and Blues Camp, the 11th annual. I'll tell you more about it in my week in music. But when I read that quote this morning, it really hit me because we talk about a lot of what is jazz, and it comes back to improvised music, the ability to improvise over a particular set of chords. Jazz music, from its beginnings, it's been improvised. Much like what we did this last few weeks with, hey, let's do our top 10 list. Let's improvise so that I don't have to try to drag equipment to record to the camp, and then I don't have to worry about producing an episode because I've been busy. And I've been busy today finishing up the concerts for Thursday night. Tonight and tomorrow I'll finish up Friday's concerts so that we can get those out. But I've delivered probably now 600 images over the course of the 5 days. I've still got a few more portrait sessions to deliver for a couple of artists, and now we've got videos out. I've got 5 videos from Thursday night's concerts. I'll have 5 more from Friday, and then I can go back and do the videos for the master classes, which were shebanging. But it's improvised music.
Hey, Drew.
Yeah.
How do we get access to the video?
The photos will be on my website at drewricephotography.com. I'll put that in the description below, that link. But then the videos will be on New School of Music on YouTube. Those will be coming out, those will be out by the time this episode comes out. And I'll put the link to New School Music on the bottom, and that is newschoolmusicaustin.net. If y'all want to check out the New School Music Austin.net, that's the local nonprofit that puts on the Texas Jazz and Blues Camp every year, run by no other than Don Braden himself. We've had some killer musicians and an amazing dialogue about what is jazz. I'd like to challenge people with that thought. And all the great musicians all said the same thing. It comes back to the improvised stream of what music really is. And so teaching the kids how to do that has been part of it. And when you think about all of the music that we've been listening to week after week, a lot of it is about compositions. Well, how do you compose and still call it improvised music? And I think there is a tension in that is kind of a beautiful tension. I can't quite determine whether this album was really improvised because it sounds a lot like it was. To me, it was improvised because you've got some really great musicians, first of all, but you got the Kora combined with the bass, combined with saxophones, piano, drums, and then a cello. But the Kora, to me, was what really sealed the deal. Beautiful instrument to listen to. Bringing in that world music that I mentioned in my top 10 that Charles Lloyd had seen coming early. Joe Harriet and the Indo Suite. So, anyways, enough. Ben Allison, the album is Peace Pipe.
That's the one we're talking about tonight. So what do you say we start off with our clips? That way our listeners, if they haven't heard Peace Pipe, they get a chance to get a couple of minutes anyways of Peace Pipe in their ears before we start talking about it. So
Matt, tell me your experience of getting your hot little fingers on the music. Can you just go to iTunes and get it?
Well, thank you for bringing that up, because normally that's what I do. I go to iTunes. I'm a iTunes music subscriber, so any music that I want, I can add a link right to my phone, or I can download the whole album to my phone. But this week, the three of us, we couldn't find this album on any of the platforms. So I went out to Discogs and I purchased a copy, which I have right here in my hot little hands.
Hot dog.
I purchased a CD so that we could at least get the whole CD experience in our ears before we started to talk about it. This is not the first time that this has happened on our journey. You know, the very first album that we covered, Loose Tubes, I had to buy the record from England and rip that. What else? Coleman Hawkins, the double CD that I had to purchase for the Coleman Hawkins week. It happens. I would like to talk about it later, or maybe one of our listeners would know why Ben Allison's music isn't available on iTunes.
I don't know if it's necessarily his or Palmetto as the record label. I
looked up, and there are some albums on iTunes from Palmetto. So,
yeah. But
if we didn't have any skin in the game, how much fun would it be? So I put $12 of my skin into the game this week, and man, it's worth it.
It does not disappoint.
Really is. It did not disappoint. I remember pulling the trigger, not knowing what Maria Schneider was going to sound like, and pulling the trigger, spending $10 on her album, and I've listened to it.
And the same day, another $10 on Data Lords.
On Data Lords, yeah.
Let's gorge on that.
And then the next day, another $10 on Thompson Field, yeah. and so it just takes me back to the days where I would buy CDs, not knowing the artist or any of the music that was on there, thinking, man, I hope I like this because I just dropped $12 for it. So it did not disappoint. Did not disappoint one bit.
So, Dad, what clip did you want to hear from this album?
This would be the track number 4 called Dakan, Dakan, starting at 145.
I'll cut it off there. I'd have listened to the whole song.
I know it's easy to listen to. That whole song speaks volumes to me of how smooth, rhythmic, melodious this whole album is. There are parts of it we'll talk later that didn't catch my flavor, but this thing with the 21 string Kora, which I saw a picture of the Kora. Mamadou is holding the Kora in his lap, and it's twice as big as a basketball. with 21 strings and handles on the side. It's an incredible instrument, and he does a marvelous job playing it. And you've obviously heard that on this track. So yeah, that's my choice right there.
The Kora kind of reminds me of a cross between a banjo and what's the other stringed instrument that they set on a stand and they hit with the little mallets? The
hammer dulcimer.
Yeah. It was hard for my brain to not picture the dulcimer when I heard the Kora play, but then when you realize what it is, it's almost like a banjo, almost with 21 strings.
The way I found it described, first of all, it's used extensively in West Africa. It's a double-bridged harp lute type instrument. So I could see the dulcimer as well. Yeah.
In
Drew,
the
what we're going to
photos, and I'll put a photo up on it, it is basically a hollowed-out gourd with the strings in the shape of a harp. And so you play it like a harp. And when we got into the conversation of world music and those instruments, coming from Africa, the woodwind flute or the reeded flute, the drum, and the kora were some of the earliest instruments, both used for communication and for music. I talked to a gentleman about that at length this week. So it was so cool to look into the kora with somebody who does play world music.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
Matt,
it was a great clip though, Dad. It was a great clip to highlight Kora. I really appreciate your clip. I actually dug that song every time I heard it. Was playing the album. It was one of those ones where I couldn't wait for it to come on.
Mm-hmm.
Great clip. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so for my clip, I chose song number 5, which is called, the name of the tune is Going Back. And this happens to be a Neil Young tune. I got to say up front that I'm not a huge Neil Young fan. That's not why I chose the tune. I want to highlight Ben. Ben's a bass player, so I think this track kind of highlights Ben, lets him shine a little bit. So Going Back, start me right at 125 and play me about a minute.
Same thing. I didn't want to end it.
Yeah. You know, it in my mind, I picture myself floating down a river, and they're all floating right with me, and we go around a bend, and you know, there's wide open fields that you can see over the riverbanks, and it just I don't know, man. It just reminded me of a relaxing tubing trip down the river. I don't even know why that imagery came to my mind all week long in this song specifically. I'm just like, oh yeah, I could float to this.
It doesn't take much effort, does it, to listen to this, to absorb it?
Yeah, that was going to be one of my talking points, but we might as well cover it now. This is an easy album to listen to.
Yeah.
as strange as the instrumentation you think is, it's just an easy album to put in and listen to. It's not overcomplicated.
No.
He doesn't try and jam too much down your ear hole so that you can kind of chew along with him or float along with him this whole album.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
His arrangement of this song allowed the space for all the different instruments to be heard, be seen, and I think that most of the album does just that. Allows everybody to space to breathe. I much like you, not floating down the river, but you could sit in a lawn chair and watch this go on for hours and never feel like you need to move. Just enjoy the flow. I'm thinking cool breeze right as the sun sets in Austin, and it's only a bazillion degrees instead of 10 bazillions. So, but just chilling back in a blues on the green kind of moment and watch this, it'd be phenomenal. So,
good choice, Matt. Good pick.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear a clip that was actually written by Ben Allison at the end of this short song on the album. It's a 2.5, 3 minute song. I just wanted the last minute of Music is Music. And to me, we'll play. Then I'll tell you. And that's where my statement of the harp, it really sounds like a harp. I listened to this song, I don't know, 6 or 7 times, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. I love the way in which the Kora and the bass just played back and forth. It was like a beautiful conversation shaping up that we were a part of. And that's what I appreciated about that song.
Good. Yeah, I like that, Drew. That's a good pick.
So out of the CD notes, let me read this short little paragraph on Music is Music. Music is Music is an improvised tune. Following this first take, Mamadou said, "Okay, I am ready to record one now." I was tempted to leave his comment and the ensuing laughter on the CD. It was one of my favorite moments at the session. All improvised.
Wow.
That's what I miss about having hard copies is the liner notes and the artwork. I do. I miss that greatly. It's nice having music at your fingertips, but man, getting those little details. Music is music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great pick. Yeah.
Pretty significant to be able to see that hard copy and reflect on it.
Yep.
Yeah. As a great pick, though.
I wonder too how many of the songs that Mamadou played on. Must have been the majority of them.
I could hear the Kora in a majority of them.
Yeah.
There were some that were drumless, though. Didn't have much percussion, which I found interesting.
Did you hear the cello? Could you hear the cello in it? I'm not sure.
You know what? Instead of that being a guitar in there, I bet there was some cello in that. I bet that's what I was hearing. Plucking of a cello.
Oh. Yeah, rather than stringing it.
It's interesting. I would say this. You can bet I'm going to go back and listen for the cello. I don't mind listening to the album. You know, Matt, when you sent it out, I thought all of the songs were there. there were a bunch missing, so I got it Friday night from you. So I've had Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to listen to it, and I've gone through this, I don't know, 12 times since then. I spent an hour today, I walked away from the computer, put it on, and just sat there and listened. And I was like, man, this is so enthralling. It's so captivating, so moving. What a, yeah, I'll listen to it again for the cello.
Yeah. Well, and just like these last couple of weeks, when you listen to it intently with thinking, let's just listen to the Kora or who's playing the Kora, or listen to it like it's their album instead of a Ben Allison. But then you turn around and listen to Ben Allison like, hey, this is a Ben Allison album. I better listen to the bass the whole time. It puts a different kind of spin on it too.
It does.
But yeah, now I'm gonna have to go back and listen for that cello.
Shucks.
The first time through this album, I had to look up and see what instrument Ben Allison played.
Uh-huh.
And then I played a piece for Mom, and I said, can you guess what instrument? And saxophone. No. I forget, she might have said piano. I said, no. He plays the bass. And it's outstanding, but you don't pick him up as a superstar necessarily on this album as an instrument.
Right. And that's why I dig it so much, is because there's not one superstar that you're kind of forced to listen to, and you can get the full spectrum of all that's going on that he's composing on the album. You get it all instead of, this is the bass, you're going to listen to it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. Well, just like I've said now for 124 weeks, whatever you do it to jazz. You're going to hear, you've heard a little bit, but you're going to hear coming up in just a little bit about our weekend music and how much jazz we actually do listen to. Of course, this week we are talking about Ben Allison's album called Peace Pipe from 2002. Hey, that's another thing I got to mention. We're starting the new section of the 129 essential albums from Nate Chinnon's book, but we'll get to that in a minute. But anyways, I put together a brief bio on Ben Allison. It's super fun putting these slides together and picking the facts. And so these are just a few of the facts that I put on this slide here that you're going to check out. But he was co-founder of the Jazz Composers Collective. Now, what is the Jazz Composers Collective, you ask? Well, thanks for asking. I'm going to tell you what it is. It was founded in 1992 by Ben Allison, and it's a group of like-minded cohorts called themselves the Jazz Composer Collective. It's a musical nonprofit organization that supports the work of a wide variety of independent-minded players and composers. So there's about 140 musicians in the Jazz Composers Collective right now. Since its inception, the collective has worked to transcend the divisive politics that tend to dominate the recording industry. The politics that dominate the recording industry. And that just answered my question why you might not be able to find it on iTunes. Not that he's taking a stance against that, but the recording industry itself, he's taking a stance on, and maybe he didn't let the music go up there. I don't know. But it's an interesting
Would it
fact.
be he or the record label?
Or the collective.
Or the collective, yeah.
I think it may be the collective saying, look, if we're going to stand up for the recording politics, then this is the stance we're going to take. Much like Maria stood for her beliefs in Data Lords, the Jazz Collective is standing for theirs. I don't know if we ever get to interview Ben Allison, I'll ask him. But from 1983 to 1985, he studied West African, Haitian, and Cuban drumming traditions. So I feel like this album, even though it was an 2002 album, he had been working towards this since 85, since 83 or 84 or 85. He's just been kind of working on this world sounding beautiful album, which I mean, it shows that he's been working on the drumming traditions. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
1996 was his first ever album as a leader, and that album is called Seven Arrows. I did not get a chance to listen to that this week, and if we discuss Ben Allison again in the future, or if I have 12 extra bucks, I'm going to jump on Discogs again and purchase Seven Arrows so I can listen to more Ben Allison. Final little brief bio there. He did record with Lee Konitz, and I got to be honest, that's the only name that I recognized on his wiki page that he's played sideman with is Lee Konitz. He's got a lot of people that he's played with, but Lee was the only one that I recognized. So his list of sideman work is extensive. I mean, starting in 1991, going all the way up to today in 2026, he's still playing with other people, but again, still running his groups. So,
Matt, you mentioned the word Wikipedia, and we've enjoyed this with the greats, the top 100 that shook the world, being able to go to Wiki. I was listening to an interview with a couple other musicians lately, and one of them said, we just don't keep that information relevant. There's nobody sitting down to look at the works. And so now, we've said it before, now you actually have to go dig. Well, and it was probably an interview, I think, with Christian McBride and somebody else. And he laughs and he says, yeah, now you got to do your homework. You can't rely on somebody else to do it for you. And some of this is, for example, who's Ben Allison? Is it worth digging into who this person is? Is it worth taking my time to type all these notes out? Is it worth noting the album Medicine Wheel? Is it worth all of these things? Well, at some point in time, it will be. But today, they're the new top artists that we're digging into, and so we're absorbing it. Yeah.
Well, and much like on our journey of 100 from Jazzwise, we didn't get a chance to listen to every single work by the artist that we were covering that week. And so this just, again, this goes and I keep my list of scores in front of my eyes all of the time. And so if I need something to listen to, I'll say, oh, well, that was a 6. Let me go listen to that again and see if I can re-rate it a little bit better this time. And Ben Allison will be no different, after I look at his rating. Yeah. So I just didn't get a chance to dig all the way into Ben Allison.
Yeah. The rabbit hole that I want to go down this week, and Will, you mentioned the Jazz Composers Collective and the albums that they've done in tribute to Herbie Nicholas. So who is that? And if he's hanging at Minton's, didn't want to play at Milton's Playhouse, he's hanging out with Thelonious Monk and other pianists. Who is this cat that they have found his music in the National Archive and started to make music of it? As that was part of my quote early on, starting off the show, is just recognizing that they look at the man and go, the guy's brilliant. Let's redo his work. Well, now it is composition. We're going to play it as it was written so we can honor and give tribute to that. It reminds you of somebody else who did the music of Bix Beiderbecke. And so if Bix is going to be honored by having bands do his pieces, then who's Herbie Nicholas? There will be plenty of time for rabbit holes, that's for sure. So,
well, and just like a Chinese buffet, you can't eat everything the one trip that you go to the buffet. As much as we try.
I'm gonna try though.
As much as we try, yeah. So Ben, I will make a prediction that Ben Allison will be in my ears for a long time to come.
Yep.
So I did go ahead and put a quote in there as well, and I was pretty happy that I found this quote because it kind of fits in. I'm a jazz musician. I live and create in a world of instrumental music, a world without lyrics, where musical conversations happen in the moment. I love the quote.
Shebang.
It's shebanging. Musical conversations. We started talking about musical conversations back in episode 5. Week 95. I'm sorry, number 95 on the countdown. And even before that, Kamasi Washington, number 98, we started talking about how jazz is a communication tactic and in its own language. And Ben just reiterates that it's a musical conversation that happens in the moment, much like vocal conversations do.
Does it also speak of the improvisation that goes on? We're in the moment. We're not necessarily needing to follow a structure, because we're now living through this, speaking into the other musicians and the audience that's going to listen to it.
I think that, yes, it speaks highly of improvisation there. I'm reflecting on this past week, and I'm like, ooh, I heard a lot of that dialogue, both musically and verbally. People would say that you've got to learn how to speak the language. If all you know is the cat ran up, the cat ran down, or run, Dick, run, run, Jane, run, that's a good start. But it's what happens when you build your vocabulary that you can quote something and somebody responds. Chris Alcaraz said it's the yes and. We're going to build on something. I'm going to say something, and Matt's going to say something else. Dad's going to say something. Matt's going to follow up with that, and I'm going to say something. Well, when you learn that vocabulary, for example, the song Footprints from Wayne Shorter becomes yes and. Do boo 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 dee boo dee ba doo ba doo da. Boo da. Boo da. Bee ba boo boo da. Ba da 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 da. Ba da 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 da. And Paul Deemer spoke that. So without the lyrics to have, without the voice to have, you don't have a conversation with somebody. And if you're going to quote the most beautiful lyrics in the world, musically, vocabulary, and the guy says back to you, cat, that's a one-way conversation. So I think that's improvisation, and finding musicians that can speak your language through whatever instrument. That becomes a joy. You guys will see these on the videos for the last jam session, for example. Young man on a trombone could not play the song, so he stood on stage and smiled. He looked over at me, and he smiled every time I took a picture. And I could see his mom. I could hear her say, "Why aren't you playing?" And he shrugs his shoulders with this big grin on his face. He goes, "I don't know the song." But when it came to improvise over the series of chords, he could, and he ripped it up. So sometimes you don't have the vocabulary to speak what you want to speak. So let's get into this album. I'm telling you, dude, I came off a week of this, so I'm living in my dream.
Let me finish my final. Let me finish my final slide, and then we'll move in. Thank you for letting me do the information slides. I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so that you can come back and check out further episodes from us. Hit the bell button so that you get alarm. Hit the alarm button so that you get notified. I'm all woppy-jawed now. I'm all woppy-jawed. Check out our 24-hour streaming radio channel, WTUR.org. You can go to our website. We've got a merchandise link there where you can buy T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of cool Unconnoisseur stuff. And for our podcast, you can go to Amazon, iTunes, and Spotify and check out the podcast if you don't want to see our beautiful faces. Okay, now let's move on so we can finish discussion on Peace Pipe by Ben Allison.
Good idea.
I found it so easy. I found it so easy. And I didn't make many notes because I didn't feel like I needed to. I don't want to compare it to anything, but it reminded me of Indo Jazz Suite. Okay. The world music going on. The good feelings that I had when Phil came on the episode to record with us for Indo Jazz Suite and the Art Ensemble of Chicago. It did not remind me of the Art Ensemble, but it reminded me of Indo Jazz Suite. So having that background in my ears already from Indo Jazz Suite allowed me to understand the concept of the album and not not just say, oh, I don't, this isn't what I want jazz to be. So I don't want to listen to it because I know it is jazz. So again, I don't want to compare it, but if you've never heard Joe Harriet's Indo Jazz Suite, man, go check out Indo Jazz Suite. It's different enough, but this kind of the same as this album. So, but first time listener, would you recommend it to a first time listener? I answer my own question. I'd say, heck yeah, in a heartbeat. You might have to give a little explanation. This isn't Kind of Blue, dude. This isn't Love Supreme. This isn't, it's not this, but go check it out and enjoy it for what it is. I would highly recommend this to a first time listener.
I think it's a good example of, though it's a 2002 tune or album, I think it's a good example of the way jazz is evolving into a new style, a new
subgenre. Yeah, genre.
Yeah. I also, Matt, I felt the word I use is mellow. It's just easy flowing, like you said earlier, like floating down a river. I thought it was real pleasant. Now, the first track I listened to, and I thought, how does this describe jazz? But the more you listen to it, the more you understand this is definitely a jazz piece. I also, like, we're talking world flavor to it. There was some Latin bossa nova kind of movement to it, a nice feel. It's an album that can grow on you.
Oh,
and like you said,
good way to put it.
Yeah, you want to listen to it. And I would anticipate I'll go back to this album again and again when I just want to chill and mellow out. So, I liked it. I liked the album considerably. Yeah.
All right, Drew, it's your turn.
As many times as I did listen to it this week and trying to find Ben Allison's other works out there, I was able to find a few albums on YouTube Music. So I did get a flavor for his work, a grasp of what he was about. Of course, you can read on a wiki. You can listen to interviews. I listened to one from a jazz festival in 2015. When you hear his thoughts about music, when you hear where he's at, what he's doing, what he's coming up with, and then you listen to this album again and again and again and again, one of the thoughts that I had, because you mentioned it's like floating in the river. We got the Comal and Guadalupe River that we actually do get to go tubing in. And now that there's been a whole lot of rain, it's going to be a great season for that here in Texas. But you never step in the same river twice. And I think that listening to this album over the weekend, I've heard that. There's a new piece here, a new idea here, a new concept back here. The one thing that I would have to say is that as we get down the rabbit hole in the new 2000 and newer music, we're going to hear quotes musically from other bands. We're going to start to hear some of the licks that become relevant to us, meaning again that the same river is never stepped in twice. It will always be shifting. It will always be changing. And I'm looking forward to more and more Ben Allison's work and to see his name more, to see what he's really capable of in general. I was blown away by the album. Every track, every minute. It was super fun just to make sure that we could hear it, first of all. So thanks, Matt, for doing that. It would have been tough because do you pivot to a completely different album? Well, no. You can't listen to any other body of his work and say, oh, that was good. This was not the same album as most of his other work.
No, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Now, is it a first-time listener? Yes. Do I recommend somebody shelling out to $12 to $15? Yes. I really do. It's worth having in your collection of audio, this album.
Yeah.
So we're talking about other albums by Ben Allison. And I happened on Union Square,
Okay.
which is a good example of his music. I think, is there one trilogical?
Trilogy.
Triological.
Theological.
Yep.
Triological. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you texted that out to us early in the week last week. Triological by Ben Allison. But again, it's a great album, Triological and Union Squares and Think Free, but those are all different than Peace Pipe.
Yeah.
You know, if Triological would have been the album to listen to, my score might have been different. But I'm so thankful that we got to listen to Peace Pipe and Nate Chinnan. Thank you for recommending this album for us on your list.
Oh yeah.
So we are using the list from Nate Chinnan's book. I haven't said that this episode, but Playing Changes is the name of the book by Nate Chinnan. It's available at Amazon.com and your local bookstore. I'd prefer that you go to your local bookstore and buy a hard copy of Playing Changes. And Nate was kind enough to put 129 albums at the back of the book that he talks about throughout the chapters of the book. So these aren't just random albums, but he does talk about each individual and why they made an impact. It's a great book to read if you're into jazz. And so, yeah, we're starting on the 2002 list this week, covering the artists that he recommends from the year 2002. And Ben Allison was first on the list. So, yeah, Triological, man. I mean, it's a good album, and I probably listened to it 2 or 3 times this week. And as far as Union Square and Think Free, those are on iTunes. So I had those at my fingertips, and I could listen to them easily. But,
I did check out The Stars Look Very Different today, and The Little Things Run the World. Action Refraction was the other that I was able to dig into. There's many more on there, but I got a screenshot of the albums I did listen to.
They all sound different, though, don't they? I mean, there's a different flavor to each of the albums. You listen to Coltrane, you know it's Coltrane. You can hear he doesn't change much throughout the decades that he plays. Ben Allison's only been recording for 20 years, and he's got something different on each album.
So not only is he a masterful bassist, he is a complete composer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think going back to what you said about the Jazz Collective, when you have the ability to step into a world of 125 other musicians, who are you going to wind up playing with? The Jazz Composers Collective provides you with the rich material. Finding and playing with those musicians, your sound is going to look very different each time you sit down to play with them. For example, Joel Fromm playing Blue Monk with the Texas Jazz and Blues staff. I've heard Blue Monk. I played Blue Monk. I've heard every rendition of Blue Monk until he gets on stage with people that are going to play Blue Monk. And his rendition was so very different. I won't say he brought it into the 2000s, but it was pretty close. So, yeah, if you've got 125 musicians that are willing to step out with you and play music, what are you going to get? A very deep and rich conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. I think this is music for the listeners. Peace Pipe is music for the listeners. I don't believe this is music for the musicians. You know, sometimes you get an album that they want to do music to impress their buddies or make it so hard that only the musicians can understand it. I made that in my note this week that this is music for the listeners.
Yeah.
That's
I like that. I think that's so true.
Well, as listeners, go ahead, Dad.
Go ahead, because that's about what I was going to say.
As listeners, how would you guys rate this album? Did you like that?
I did.
I'm working on my segues.
I want to go first because I don't want to be embarrassed. So I don't know why I couldn't go all the way to 10. I don't know why I couldn't go all the way to 10, but I rated Ben Allison Peace Pipe at a 9. I gave it a solid 9. I I didn't think that I would enjoy it as much as I did, but like Dad said, it kind of grows on you. And so the more you listen to it, the more you're like, wow, this I can get into this. You know, if I'd only listened to it one time or only heard one track, it might have been a 6. But the more I listened to it, the more I ingested it. I'm standing at a solid 9. That's where I'm at.
Word.
Good.
Dad, how about you?
Well, yeah, I'm just a half a notch higher. I got a 9.5. And the reason, it's a personal preference. When I hear the sax player overblowing, there's a couple songs on the album where it just catches you. You're at a peaceful state, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're hit with the richness of a sax, the quality, the flavor of the sax. But when it gets to be overblowing, I back off. Otherwise, 9.5. I was thinking it as well. The softness, the richness, the flowing. It would almost be like on a night where you want to cover up with a nice soft blanket.
Yeah.
You know, get that comfort, that comfortable feeling. That's kind of where it is now, as I think.
Sitting out on the patio out there and you're watching TV and it's nice and quiet. And then all of a sudden this flock of geese flies over. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
When you describe the sax playing, that's what I thought. Yeah, I'm sitting out on the patio watching TV. It's nice. And I got the blanket on because it's a little chilly. And then here comes the geese.
Yep.
And all kinds of honking noises.
Oh, yeah. Good.
9.5 is a great score, though.
Yeah.
Man.
That's how much I really like this album.
Good.
Overall.
What about you, Drew?
This album hit me probably at the right time. If I'd have listened to it during the week, it would have definitely changed a score for me. But to come off of this week of camp and listen to it over the weekend and Friday night into the weekend, it hit me just right. Our weeks influence our ratings. And everybody spoke about where you were or where you wanted to be when you were listening to the album. I couldn't have imagined a better place mentally than this weekend's wrap-up. To me, the album actually hit in all the right categories. When we've looked at our 5 criteria of rating an album, it's hit it all. The creativity, the craftsmanship, shebang. The feeling, the emotion, shebang. Were they aware of each other playing? And now that you've mentioned the CD liner about music is music, they feel it. They love it. I ended up a point higher and a half a point higher than you, Dad. I put it at a 10. Wow. When I told you I had my score on Friday night after I listened to it and my song, I was locked in, baby. I knew exactly where I was, what I wanted to do, primarily because of how it made me feel. And emotionally, it hit me pretty well. Now, I want to roll... Do we want to roll into what's new?
Well, no. Yeah, let's please. Yes, let's do that.
So, Daddy-O?
Okay.
What's new?
What's new is an album by Tigran Hamasyan, and it's Manifeste, released March of this year. There are 14 songs on the album. It's an hour roughly and 13 minutes. And you have a note there about a crossover jazz piano. There are a number of artists on this album. Oh, by the way, the label was Naive. And Tigra is an Armenian. So we're talking again about world music. Born and raised in Armenia and lived in, I think, New York for a good bit of time. And now his residence is back in Armenia.
I thought he was French.
I'm sorry.
I thought he was French. No?
Nope, Armenian, which is a former Soviet country, part of the Soviet bloc. It's, I think, east of Turkey, west of Kyrgyzstan, in that area of the country. The Caspian Sea is not far from where Armenia is located. That gives you a flavor of where. Anyway, it's Armenian folk kind of music, progressive rock. It's a combination of jazz fusion. There's a sense of groove in this album, and some of the music is choral-like. And one of the things I saw today, Tigran is a whistler. He whistles on this album, at least in 2 different tracks, which I didn't hear that right away when I listened to the track until I read and saw that the dude whistles.
Yeah.
And he's quite good. So another comment I made is that every instrument in this album seems to come alive. And it just rocks. I mean, it just jazzes. I shouldn't say rocks, it jazzes. Okay. Our listeners are going to enjoy this album.
Drew, I don't know. Have you had a chance to put the album in your ear?
I did.
Did you? All right.
We did not have Ben Allison. When he texted this out, said this is where we're going, I jumped on it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Good.
I don't know. And again, I'm not comparing the music, but it reminded me a little bit in spots of Esbjorn Svensson.
It has those flavors, doesn't it?
There was the spots in Manifesta that I could think, wow, this is Esbjorn come back. So, and the whistling part just got me too. I listened to it on my walk today during lunch. I was out walking and listening to this album, and I was like, yeah, I wish I could whistle that good, but it's a good album. It's a great pick.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, great pick.
You liked it, Drew, as well?
Loved it.
Yeah, good.
And I agree with you. The listeners are going to enjoy this Tigran album, Manifeste.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, Ted.
Yeah. Happy to be a part of it.
I've been biting at the bit, baby.
Let's go.
So, imitate, assimilate, and innovate. You know, as Mr. Clark Terry. As a photographer, I've done that in the years past. I like this person's style. I'm going to imitate this. I'm going to assimilate it to my repertoire, and then I am going to innovate above and beyond that. These are skills that are improvisational. Once you've learned that vocabulary, once you've learned how to shoot this picture or record this or whatever it is, you begin to build on that process to make it your own. This whole week at Texas Jazz and Blues Camp, I got to watch some young men, new fathers. I got to watch some old men, grandfathers who were pouring life into these students as they learned about improvisation by playing either jazz standards, or a couple of bands had their own arrangements put together. One of them had a brand new song that they wrote during camp. Don Braden, who has toured a little bit with Herbie Hancock, helped a combo create a new ending for Watermelon Man. All of these things are happening in real time. Students of the music and teachers of the music. The most important part is when the teachers and the students got to play together. Nobody was better than anybody. We were all striving to master our instruments and to learn what jazz is about. Of course, Friday's concerts fall on Juneteenth this year. So we had a little opportunity to talk about what Juneteenth means. Of course, the founding moment of that really for us is in Galveston, Texas, where somebody wrote in and said, you guys are free. The party began. Jazz music is the party beginning from the blues. And I got to live to experience that. Matt, we talk about Winton's statement. You got to go there to know there. Mm-hmm. And to spend a week surrounded by camp students learning, that are hungry. I realize that the teachers are students learning and hungry, because today's generation, today's future, is also spreading the love, the wealth, and the knowledge with the staff. What a beautiful time to learn about jazz, history, and the future. I was blown away. That was my week. It was a lot of time. We did have a hotel, so I had to take the kids every evening and every morning back and forth. 14 students were campers out of the 45 young people, and then we had 8 interns as well. So a lot of moving pieces. Our guest presenter this week was Joel Fromm. Super cool to hang with the dude. It's 2 years in a row that it's kind of been on my shoulders to get him from combo to combo. Last year I got to take Bill Evans, which was super great to me, and this year Joel Fromm, from place to place. The reason being is that I had to take pictures with him with all of these students, and to hear him talk, to present, and dialogue was just super cool. But of course, Ponder East is the one directing and overseeing under the direction of Don Braden. Ponder did such a bang-up job every year with details. There's a lot that I could say about all of the gentlemen that were there. We did get to take them, my 14 students, to Monk's Jazz to see Lulu Fest Light, featuring the Peggy Stern Trio, which included Peggy Stern on the piano, Mercedes Solis on bass, Masumi Jones on drums, and a special guest, Pamela Hart, on vocals. So to take them to a live concert was super cool. And I've got footage of that. That will come out on this channel, as well as the New School Music Austin's YouTube. So
you only got to take the 14 campers to the concert?
We could have taken more, but it was a special treat for the overnighters. It really was.
Oh, good.
It was a way to keep us busy, keep us occupied. Young man who I have much respect for, I've watched over the years develop and learn, was one of those who put arrangements together. So to have him go and check out this group as well, it was like 14 of my own personal kids. I had much love and much respect for all of them. So yeah, those 14 is a special treat we got to take out.
What was their response to it, Drew?
They loved it.
Yeah.
They really loved it. One of the young men's a piano player. I asked him what he thought, and he said, "That's the kind of music I love to listen to." Not the response I expected from him. But yes, he was blown away. So they loved it. They loved it.
Good.
So one key takeaway from Texas Jazz and Blues Camp, if you could give one key takeaway for you, what would it be? I know that you weren't a student, but you got to see almost everything that went on. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but just
jazz music is about being together.
Yeah.
And being present.
Perfect. I kind of knew or figured that you'd say something along that line. And I thought about you all week. You got to go there to know there. And you were there all week getting to know it. Man, what a
phenomenal opportunity.
Experience.
Yeah.
I had somebody say at the dining room table one night, "Jazz paid for this."
Yeah.
And I kind of laughed until it hit me. We were there for jazz. We were there because of jazz, and jazz paid for this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Togetherness.
Excellent. Yeah. Good.
Okay, Dad, what about your weekend? Drew, are you done?
I'm done. I'm about to start crying.
Right.
I was full up. Full up.
Yeah.
I'm no way am I going to try to top that. But I'll tell you, I listened to a variety of music. I mentioned the Ben Allen. I listened to The Joy of Flying by Tony Williams. That's just a beautiful drumming album by one of the main men of, is on my list, number 3.
Yeah.
I also listened to The Wilderness, not The Wilderness, but Wilderness by Tony Williams. this afternoon, while I'm typing away on my memoirs, I listened to a Pat Metheny Still Life album. So, I often go back there. And the Joel Fromm Illuminance or something.
Yep.
I listened to that. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you sent us one of you sent me that Charles Lloyd 15-minute video.
Yep. I sent that out earlier this week.
Yeah, I watched that. It's really a good piece. I recommend our followers, our listeners to check that out. So
top 8 albums that Charles Lloyd would recommend.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
top 8 for 8 kindred spirits.
Right?
Yeah. So that's my week in music. I will add to that we were at 4 different funerals this past week. Obviously, our former pastor, Dave DeSelm, passed away, and his service was on Friday. And it was a marvelous service with a number of speakers. And they played a couple hymns, and we sang along. And it was just a good service. I don't know how many were there. There were at least 700, if not close to 800 people that were in attendance. So I thought it did good honor for former Pastor Dave DeSelm. That's my week. What about you there, Matthew?
Well, I got on a couple of different kicks this week. I did listen to Illumination from Joel Fromm, but I don't know why I got on a Lee Ritenour kick, because I needed another guitar player in my life, right? So I did 5 or 6 different, much older Lee Ritenour albums. The Stolen Moments from 1990 album is amazing. I got on a trombone kick too. And there's an artist named Bill Watrous that I had his album someplace else. Came out in 1986. I probably bought it in 1986 and listened to it on CD. But I went back to Bill Watrous and listened to some trombone jazz this week. So Union Square by Ben Allison, Think Free by Ben Allison. I got to tell you, I played golf twice this week, once on my own. On a par 3 course, I had Kinda Blue in my ear, and I shot probably the best round that I've ever shot before. I only played 9 holes, but I shot 3 over. So I was really happy. I had Kinda Blue in my ear, and maybe that's why I shot so good. But then the day that Keaton and I golfed, I didn't have any music in my ear, so my swing and tempo was off. So it was fun golfing anyways. The Next Step by Kurt Rosenwinkel, that's on the top of my playlist. I'll never stop listening to that ever. And of course, Jeremy Ledbetter Trio Gravity is stuck up there at the top of the list too. So I'll probably listen to those albums once a week for now until my phone breaks. So, but other than that, that's really my week in music. I just couldn't wait to hear about yours. So yeah.
By the way, I did listen to Giant Steps while I was taking a bike ride.
Oh,
earlier in the week.
Yeah. That's great to exercise too.
Oh yeah.
Great
Yes,
to exercise too.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So
Matt?
we've done the clips. We've done the go ahead.
What's next, baby?
That's what I'm getting at right now, baby. What's next? On the list for 2002 from Nate Shannon, the name of the artist is Tim Byrne. The name of the album is Science Friction. Science Friction. It's 8 songs long, 52 minutes, from the Screw Gun Records label. I have not previewed this album. Don't know anything about Tim Byrne. I'm looking forward to putting it in my ears. It's already downloaded into my collection, and I wanted to put it on today, but I'm like, nope, gotta wait. So Science Friction from Tim Byrne. That's what should be in your ears so that you can come join us next week for our discussion.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
Yeah, me too. Me too,
Definitely.
baby.
definitely.
Thank you so much for staying tuned this long. If you've hung out this long, you deserve a piece. And thank you so much. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe and the bell button so that you get notified.
In the sand at the
In the
river.
sand.
All right.
Sticking out of the tube as we float
Sticking
down
out
the
of the
river.
tube, yes.
Yeah.
You're funny. All right.
Okay.
Cheers, everybody.
All right. Peace out. See you next week.